What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So yesterday was like the day of leaks. We had a massive one hit Nintendo that is leaving us with a lot of questions as to how this happened, but also giving us pretty solid confirmation that yes, Game Boy and Game Boy Advance games are heading to that Nintendo Switch Online service here sometime in the future. We're gonna go over that here today. Also, we are going to be talking about a leak that hit Microsoft detailing that Tatanka game mode for Halo Infinite, and we're also going to finally be going over when Digimon Survive is set to release. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure you hit that like button, helps out a ton. And if you're new here to the Spawn Wave channel, make sure you subscribe down below and ring that notification bell so you can keep up to date with all of the uploads here on the channel. And we're going to start today with Ark Survival Evolved for the Switch. This was a weird one because when it released, I think it was like 2018. It's been a while. I double checked the video I made for it back then. That was when the game was running terribly. I mean, technically it still does now, but I checked and I'm like, well, I've gone through 3 different Frieza forms since then. That's how long ago this was. But it looks like the game is going to be releasing again and they're rewriting the game in Unreal Engine 4 so that it works. But again, very strange story to pop up, but you can see this posted up over on Nintendo Life where they say, somewhat strangely, Studio Wildcard has now confirmed the release of Ark Ultimate Survivor Edition in September at a retail price of $49.99. Apparently, if you have the version now, it will just update to this. They go on to say this edition and all existing copies will apparently showcase a complete revamp with a new port specialist, supposedly rebuilding the code in Unreal Engine 4. So I guess if you were curious about it, go out and buy it now. It's pretty cheap. I mean, the game technically can't run any worse or look any worse. So if they bump it up 5 frames per second and go up a couple of Ps, yeah, they'll have held up their end of the bargain. Also, we have some updated sales figures around Shin Megami Tensei 5, which is a JRPG we waited for a long time to have come out. Remember, it was announced alongside of that Switch event that took place where they really dove into everything they were going to be doing leading up to that March release. Well, we can see this posted up by Atlas West saying Shin Megami Tensei 5 has sold 1 million units worldwide. Obviously, this is great news for Shin Megami fans as this is now the best-selling game in the SMT series. I think before this, it was one on the 3DS that was roughly 600,000 or so copies, so this is the first SMT game to reach that 1 million milestone, and it shows a couple of things. One, it shows that the series itself is trending upwards, but it also shows that the Switch by itself can hold up these JRPGs, and it kind of makes sense why we see things like Square really push hard with HD 2D, with things like Triangle Strategy, Live Alive soon, and Octopath. Yeah, Octopath eventually went to other platforms like the Xbox, but it launched initially on the Switch and it seemed to do pretty well there. So I would like to see more of these Japanese developers work to create JRPGs that are just set up for the Switch because it appears they have the audience there to support it. Oh, and we did have a new limited edition set announced for TMNT, the Cowabunga Collection. I'm really looking forward to. Again, shocked to see that this is a game Konami is bringing to us, but hey, I'll take it. And take a look at this here. This was tweeted out by Konami, TMNT, the Cowabunga Collection Limited Edition Collector Set. It's currently up for sale I saw it on Target, but apparently it's gonna be up on Amazon, Best Buy, GameStop, basically everywhere at $150. But I mean, look at this set. It has this really nice looking box. It's gonna have original box art by Kevin Eastman, cloth poster, acrylic diorama, enamel pin set, 12 Tournament Fighters cards, and a 180-page art book that you know probably has some awesome pieces in there. This is clearly for a fan of the TMNT series in general, and this being a massive celebration of a lot of those games many of us remember way back in the day during the 16-bit era. Yeah, this is one I'm certainly going to be picking up and adding to my collection. Make sure you check it out. I'll leave a link down to the Target listing, the one that I came across in the sources below. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with the massive leak that hit Nintendo yesterday. Came out of nowhere, and it appears that the Game Boy, Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance emulators just leaked online. Like seriously, the Game Boy Advance emulator is still not even done. It's like version 0.7 or something. Now, I can't technically show you the tweets because it has screenshots of this leaked emulator, and I think the background for this is kind of shady, to be honest, because of where this could potentially have come from. But I'll have some B-roll footage up here of like the Wii U Game Boy Advance announcement trailer, as it seems like we're gonna be getting another one of these potentially this year, that being a trailer for the Switch getting Game Boy and Game Boy Advance games. Anyway, this was tweeted out by Five Nights saying, so Nintendo's official Game Boy Advance emulator for the Nintendo Switch just leaked. Now it's just a matter of waiting for Nintendo Switch Online to add Game Boy Advance, and they shared a bunch of screenshots showing off the different emulators, and I believe just showing off ROMs that were being loaded up because people are already using these on hacked Switches. They're able to load the emulator up and then point to different ROMs and try it out. And there seem to be some bugs with the Game Boy Advance emulator. This is what Nate had referred to before in one of his Nate the Hate podcasts, in that the Game Boy and Game Boy Color side is done and is basically going to be released at some point. Game Boy Advance, he wasn't too sure of, and I mean, we kind of see why here if it's seriously version 0.7. Seems like they still had some work to do on that one. We also got some code names for these emulators. Sloop is the code name or project name for the Game Boy Advance emulator, and Hyoko is the code name for Game Boy and Game Boy Color. And it looks like Nerd was developing the Game Boy and Game Boy Color. A Game Boy Advance emulator seems to be developed out of a studio in Nintendo of Japan, so not 100% there. But the strange thing is kind of the explanation as to where this came from. It was off of a Switch development kit, not from like Nintendo servers. And that tends to be what happens, right? Like Nintendo do an update on their Switch firmware. It gets data mined immediately. People look through it. Even if it's a small update, sometimes Nintendo will do things to put out an update, move pieces around in the background to prepare for future updates to make it easier. And that's how we find out about certain things a bit early. This appears to have just been dumped onto 4chan with anonymous links to download these different emulators and run them on a development kit Switch or just a hacked Switch, which is leading to a bunch of theories as to who dumped this, because if you consider that and it's not something that's just on Nintendo servers that they accidentally put out there, or somebody had done some sort of hack that we're hearing more and more about nowadays, it seems like it would be someone developing the emulator, working on one of the teams, whether it's at Nerd or in Japan with Nintendo, or somehow one of these dev kits got left somewhere and picked up. And there's a lot of possibilities here as to how this happens, but that is one of the most intriguing parts here, because most of us expected Game Boy, Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance games to come to the Nintendo Switch Online at some point. Now it just looks like it's going to be happening sooner rather than later. I mean, I could see Game Boy and Game Boy Color go in sometime this year. Maybe Game Boy Advance is a little further out, but certainly we should be seeing some sort of Game Boy system added to Nintendo Switch Online later this year. I always like to think, okay, it's going to be around the time when they first launched it in the fall, because that's probably when a vast majority of subscriptions are up. And Nintendo likes to string people along with these updates. So, hey, a lot of possibilities here. Obviously, you start thinking about all of the different games. That's how people mention Pokemon Pinball. That'd be pretty cool. Or just Pokemon in general, throw that on there. But then you had some really good platformers, some very rare games like Ninja 5.0, and the list just goes on and on and on. The Game Boy and Game Boy Advance library is massive, and Nintendo could pull a lot from there, whereas the N64 library, a bit smaller, and they could run into some issues with that one. Also, just to keep balance with this whole thing, it is an anonymous leak online with all of the files that are put out there, and there were some oddities that were being brought up. The biggest one that I saw was that Nintendo appears to be referencing Easy Flash in some of these files. It's like the card you can buy that then plays ROMs off of it on your Game Boy Advance. I'm not really sure why they would be researching that to build a Game Boy Advance emulator, unless they were just curious as to how that was working, but just something to keep in mind. These are anonymous listings, even though they look pretty legitimate all the way around. Just keep that one in mind. So, hey, now we're just kind of hanging out waiting for Nintendo to officially announce it, but I'm sure this is a story that will continue to evolve over the coming days. Next up, let's talk about the leak that hit Microsoft for Halo Infinite. Now, since the game was leading up to its release, there was a lot of talk around them incorporating some sort of a battle royale mode. People were saying it needed it to survive in today's climate with free-to-play games like Call of Duty Warzone and Fortnite. Others said, no, it just needs to be arena shooter, but I think we can all agree it needs to be updated much more consistently than it is now. And we're heading into Season 2. They've shown off some of the maps that'll be added, and it looks like that codenamed Tatanka game mode that is being worked on right now by Certain Affinity is shaping up to basically be a battle royale, but maybe with a Halo flair to it. We can head over here. This was posted up by Tweaktown, along with Infinite Leaks over on Twitter, with a bunch of information. A lot of this stuff seems to have been data mined, and then we have some information from Windows Central as well to play into this. But we can see duos and quads multi-team. In fact, it looks like up to 100 players, and I noticed that you can have teams of 4, and they'd have, 25 different teams running around in a pretty large, massive map. Bots will be supported, which makes sense considering people might drop out. If you have 100 people in, you're probably going to lose some people at some point, right? Shrinking attainment zones, massive open-end level, and activities which include like missions, King of the Hill territory supply run, which I almost wonder if you would be in this large scale battle, and then within that battle, there would be small like Halo matches going on almost with these kind of objectives, which is a interesting thing to consider there. And if we look at what Jez Corden has said from Windows Central, talking about this new game mode, it's going to be a separate mode that's so big it's almost like another game. It could be part of Season 3 or Season 4, however, we could see a delay for it, although they haven't technically announced this mode at all, so that'd be more of an internal delay. We already know Certain Affinity is making it. Never been in Halo before, obviously that being a large battle royale, designed to appeal to the mainstream audience, huge scale, similar to Warzone, and mentions it could be tied into Forge mode. That is one of the most compelling things on here, because Forge mode is a great way to really extend the life of a game like Halo Infinite. It's worked wonders with something like Halo 3. The community basically takes over, creates different game modes, maps, the whole thing. You incorporate that in a large scale, 100-player battle royale game, basically. That could be something special. I like the idea, though, if we are dropping out of pods, which is mentioned, like ODST troopers coming out of the sky, that could be cool. I know there are Halo fans that are like, oh, I don't want Battle Royale, but let's face it, it's something the game needs, and if it's just a separate mode, and you still have, like, your arena Halo classic style, it's not really going to hurt anything to bring it in. That's kind of how I'm looking at this. I almost wonder if it's not even going to be part of Halo Infinite as it is now. You go into Halo Infinite and it's like, it's just one of the selections on there. I almost wonder if this be a separate icon and they call it Halo Infinite and then something else attached to it, and it's like its own application that maybe launches from that menu, or you just pick it right away from your Xbox library. But certainly something to keep an eye on here. If it's not till Season 3 or 4, that means it would be like later on this year or maybe into early 2023. But I am very interested now reading through some of this as to what Halo Infinite's plan is for a Battle Royale mode. Next up, let's talk about Sonic. Specifically though, Sonic Origins. This was announced last year alongside of Sonic Frontier, and this looks like it was going to be Sega going back and modernizing many of the older 16-bit Sonic games, along with Sonic CD, putting it into a collection and then releasing it again. We've seen a lot of Sonic collections, so technically this isn't new, but if they go back and do a bit more work to it, they mentioned like 16:9 widescreen, I'm sure they'll push up the resolution, all these different things. It's still Sonic. Those are some very good games, and I'm sure people will still buy into this one, but it was rated over in Korea, which we can see the ratings here. That being for Sonic Origins, this on PC, and it was rated on the 15th of April. Now, I'm looking at this thinking, okay, we must be getting close to like the big reveal for it where they go over a bit more information, maybe show off all of the games that'll be there. But we did also have some key art, which is most likely the icon that will show up in the store that leaked out from PlayStation, which you can see here. I mean, it looks really good. And Sonic Origins most likely, I think, is going to be Sonic 1, 2, 3, and CD. Maybe they could throw Sonic and Knuckles in there as well, but that's basically what I believe it's going to be here. It'd be cool if they had some extra stuff that they'll throw in there. There'll probably be like a museum and some other parts of it, but I've seen a lot of Sonic collections and I've played these games quite a bit. So unless they have something really like out of nowhere that makes me feel like I need to pick this up, I'll probably just check it out when it goes on sale down the road. But Sonic Origins aside, I almost wonder if we're coming up on some sort of event from Sega. We see the ratings pop up for Sonic Origins. We see kind of that key art leak out on PlayStation's website. Could we be heading towards another like Sonic presentation from Sega like we did before, where they showcase Sonic Frontiers for the first time and announce Sonic Origins? Because we don't have an E3 to look forward to, and we've heard that a lot of these publishers are going to be doing their own events. We still need a date for Sonic Frontiers that's supposed to be coming out this holiday, and well, we need more information around Sonic Origins, and then who knows, maybe they have another surprise for us. So I'm almost wondering if going into May, maybe even sometime in June, they work to have their own event that we can look forward to, or maybe they just split up these different games and drop them into Nintendo Directs or Sony State of Plays. We'll see. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about Digimon Survive. This has been a saga, and the game's not even out yet. It's been delay after delay. They had mentioned that they were really hit hard by everything that was going on with remote work and the pandemic, and it appears finally they are set to have this game release, at least in one part of the world so far. We can see this posted up by Gamatsu, where they say Digimon Survive will launch for PlayStation 4 and Switch on July 28th in Japan for 6,980 yen, the latest issue of V-Jump reveals. So at this time, I mean, this isn't a magazine that was released, so they could be looking to maybe make an official announcement here sometime soon. It is coming out for the PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC, that being on Steam in 2022 this year. Seeing it in July, yeah, I mean, we're still several months out now, but I'm wondering if we're gonna have a staggered release here. Like, it comes out in Japan, say July 28th, and then maybe in like the fall to holiday time, it releases globally, worldwide. They had a lot of issues in development, so I wouldn't be shocked if they go that route. I'm just happy that we finally have an end point now for Digimon Survive finally releasing, right? Like I said, this has been ongoing for a while. I've been curious about this game, as it's supposed to be kind of a different direction for the Digimon franchise overall when it comes to these games. A strategy RPG mixed with like almost like a visual novel style. Again, we need to see more information around this game completely, but the fact that we now have that release date is great. We'll just have to keep an eye out for a Western release date, and hopefully it comes out July 28th. Otherwise, maybe later on this year during the holidays. And before we go to the comment of the day, we're gonna take a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday, where I asked, will Nintendo release Game Boy Advance games into Nintendo Switch Online in 2022? 69%, good job everyone, said no. 31% said yes. To be fair, I put this poll out as soon as that leak hit the internet. I was like, let me see where everyone is before they see the leak, because once you see that leak, you're like, all right, the emulator for Game Boy and Game Boy Color is basically ready to go. What about Game Boy Advance, though? That's the one that's still a toss-up to me. I kind of feel like Nintendo wants to release both at the same time, and it's possible that development kit just had an older build at version 0.7 than maybe what's already set to go within Nintendo now. But I believe we're seeing at least Game Boy and Game Boy Color later on this year. It just makes a lot of sense for Nintendo to drop that along with Pokemon and then a bunch of other Game Boy games to keep people on the hook when their subscription is set to go up. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day, as you're seeing here. This is from Disarray saying, oof, just went to try Babylon's Fall before it goes offline. I was not expecting to see it's a paid game, and at $55 for a live service game, that's enough for me, dog. That's the weird spot that Babylon's Fall, or really other live service games that don't take off quickly out of the gate, find themselves in. Babylon's Fall goes below 10 players concurrently in this game on Steam. If someone sees that, and it's a live service game that needs people to play, otherwise, oh, what if they shut the servers off, then I feel like I wasted my money, they'll be hesitant to buy in. But Square needs people to buy in to get that current concurrent player count up. It's this weird cycle. So now is the time for Square to pivot. They explore free-to-play options, or they drop it into a service like PlayStation Plus. Just try to get those numbers up. I mean, what else can you really do? Hope that people buy in for full price? Or I think it was discounted to $40. They have ways to monetize this game further, microtransactions, battle passes, the whole deal. So now would be a good time, Square, to figure out a way to get people on board. And if you got to drop it in PlayStation Plus for a month, that's what you got to do. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today, was the Game Boy, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance emulators for the Switch just leaking out online. How do you think that happened? And when do you think they'll officially release on Nintendo Switch Online? And then all this talk around Tatanka for Halo Infinite, this Battle Royale mode. What do you think about some of the details that we see getting out there now? Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.